Guys, so excited to see you this weekend.
Me too. Me too.
So I got in a few minutes late, so my apologies because I missed the first few minutes of your
Yeah, we were talking about the secrets of life, and
Yeah. I miss it every time. Dang it.
every time.
Every time I'm
We
late.
always go, hurry up, Christy's almost here.
Exactly. Oh God, sometimes it feels that way. So there's always been I'll just get right to it. There's always been allergy response issues. I have some autoimmune stuff that's been going on for decades, but ever since I've started doing the deeper work with materialization breath, obviously there's been lots of shifts. Since those shifts, I'm now having physical things that are happening and that are exaggerating that I'm trying to work through. And I've tried a couple things, but I'm, in listening to what you were talking about with Troy, with the, immune response, I'm wondering if I could try some of that.
Yeah, I'll just bundle it up and I'll bring it with me.
Okay, awesome. That would be great.
And so maybe until then, do you have some Melissa?
I do have Melissa.
Why don't you take you didn't hear me say this, take like 4 or 5 drops internally, not just 1 or 2, like double down on it and do it like maybe a couple times a day and see if that just doesn't help calm all of that down.
I'm writing it down, but I did not hear it. So yeah. Perfect. And I'll do that until I see you guys. The other weird thing is I'm having all these like digestive things where the stomach is bloated, severe achy stuff. So I've been like, of course, I'm researching caraway seed, but I started chewing caraway seed and doing digestive calm. The digestive calm did not really make any difference. I tried taking.
Have you tried ginger? Why don't you just try some?
Okay, no, I'll try that.
Ginger is great. Like, you know how like we talk about like lemongrass is a cure-all and sage is a cure-all. Like for the gut, ginger is kind of a cure-all. Like you could kind of like all the weird things that go into the gut. It's not always like the best choice for one specific thing, but like just when you got like something's going on, just start hitting it with ginger.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I did just grab just because it was on my nightstand and I needed to lay down for a minute and just to kind of try to breathe through it. Etheric cords did calm some of that down. So I tried cutting cords, cleaning and all that. So I don't know, maybe it's twofold, like it's not just one thing.
Keep working the cord thing. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
If you're, because you're doing the materialization process and, I think I had you using Rue. Is that what I had you do?
Yes, you did. And that has been a little intense, but I'm working through it.
So, I mean, you can back off of that for a little bit just till things stabilize. But I would say that it helps to resolve like conflicts and things, but sometimes there's the inner conflicts and then there's the outer conflicts. You know what I mean? And the inner conflicts, it helps to resolve, and it helps you to resolve the outer conflicts, but sometimes the outer conflict is maybe more the situation or the person rather than you, and still have to process it. You still have to be able to shift things so that you can be okay, but it's not always you know what I mean? And this is where I would say there's probably maybe a little bit of concern is things I think get directed at you and Jeff because of Jeff's work.
You've said that before.
Okay. Yeah, his position and how many people are in the company and everything. It's very common in higher management that the family has issues because things being directed at the person and the company. I've had several like CEOs or presidents of companies, of big companies. They'll say different things like the bad luck starting again, or something's going on with my family. Can you like clean it off? And it's just stuff being projected at them. And it's not always conscious on the employees or the partners or, whatever it is. But whenever I look at you guys, I always see a big, like, kind of wave coming at you guys all the time.
Okay, I'll work with that.
It can also be competitors.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It might not even be people you know. Like it's not like you can go in and have a come to Jesus meeting with everybody and go, we're going to resolve this. It might be the competition. It might be, it could be all kinds of things. So I would just keep working the third chord thing, because even when I look at you now, there's a bunch of still not necessarily negative chords, which makes me think it's people that you know, but the chords are very contaminated.
Okay, I'll keep working at etheric chords. I was going back to, I just really was examining my own internal BS of my own, getting in my own way and my own internal obstacles and like I was kind of digging deep on that. Like, this is my garbage that I need to shift, but also at the same time things were getting intense. So
yeah,
I'll work both of them.
because like here's the thing with that. It's like, it's like if you take all the other external things away, there's times where we kind of get in our own way. But the worst version of that is interacting with situations or difficult situations or difficult people, and maybe we don't handle it well, or we don't handle it at all, or it's difficult, or it's triggering, or it's whatever, and it's those things kind of put us in a place where we get a little bit more triggered. That's not like our choosing. We kind of end up there. But, I tell this story. I think I've told it to you guys once or twice before. It's this story that I think it's like a shamanic thing, because sometimes they do healings like with telling stories or parables or something. But it's this, it's like this guy, he borrowed some money and he hadn't paid it back, and there was debt collectors looking for him and everything, and they come into his little village. They're on horseback. This is the way it was told to me. They're on horseback and he sees them coming, so he goes running down the street and he tries to hide, and they kind of keep following him. And so he runs through like a butcher shop or something, and they keep following him. So he thinks, like, where would they not follow me? So he runs over to the brothel, and he goes and tries to hide in the brothel, and they come in the brothel looking for him, and he runs out the back door, and he keeps going through all these different things. And then eventually he's like, where would they not follow me? And then he runs to the edge of town, and he runs out into the cemetery where it's just like dark and creepy, and there's no trees, and the ground's real rocky. And he runs to the corner of the cemetery, and he hides behind this headstone, and they're still kind of following him on the horse, and he's run out of places to hide. And there's just been all these weird things. Like at one point he dresses up like a woman so that it throws him off the track. So he's dressed like a woman hiding in the cemetery, and they finally kind of catch up to him, and they say something to him, and they go, what are you doing here? Like, this is crazy. Look at what you look like and everything. What are you doing here? Why are you here? And he looks at him and he goes, because you're here. Right? And he wouldn't have gone there on his own, but trying to get away from the situation or manage the situation or deal with it, or, whatever it is, it just keeps going down this weird rabbit hole until you're just in this weird place that, like, you never would have got on your own. And if we step back and we look at that energetically, usually the first wave of that is chords. Like, chords will start to throw you in a weird spin because you're processing sometimes other people's energy. It's going to physicalize. And if you were to stand and watch like two people go through a little situation and they have an argument, you'll notice that at some point in the argument, like say you and somebody are having an argument, and at some point you start behaving like that other person, right? And it's not a reaction, it's contamination. like that contamination hits your energy field, they're being weird and adversarial or whatever it is. And at some point, it starts to enter your energy field, and then how it got there doesn't matter. It just begins to physicalize. So then it affects your physiology, it affects your emotions, and affects your mind, and it just spins you out of control a little bit. And the big thing is cords. And you had years of doing, like service work with the work that you did before, and even now you're still doing some with your projects, but you also have the stuff that potentially is coming from Jeff's work and everything like that. It can be a little bit of an issue. And the flip side of that is, the more we clean it off, the more we kind of can recognize like who we are or what we are, or I know I've told you guys this story a bunch, where Master Cho is going to see somebody. So Master Cho is the spiritual teacher, for the ones who don't know who that is. And he's a guru. And he went over to this person's house, and they were to have a meeting, and he sat down in the chair and they started talking. And in the middle of the conversation, he goes, "Do you worry?" And the person goes, "No." And he goes, "Huh. Okay." And the person kept talking for a minute. He goes, "Are you sure you don't worry?" And the person's like, "No." He's like, "Huh. Okay." And then he asked like a third time, "You sure you don't worry?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "As I sit here, I'm beginning to worry, and that's not me. Like, I don't worry. So there's something contaminating that is making me worry." And so there, he's very aware of himself. So when that starts to come on, he's like, "Oh, that feeling, that is not me. That's something coming from the outside." Right. And so when he said that, the person goes, "Oh, I don't worry, but my wife worries, and she worries when the kids are out, and that's exactly where she sits." So contamination and cords, like those are the first two things that are like the beginning of going down that rabbit hole. And so, like, when in doubt, you go through and you just start cleaning up the aura. You start cleaning up the cord, the cords, and then see where you're at after that.